Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest of the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, today we got a celebration going on. So we're talking about and we are discussing and celebrating the very first release of Mission Matters' first audiobook. It's a best of series, and I'm proud to bring Arnold Volker, one of our best of series authors, onto the line, and then also his son, which he writes about extensively in the book. So we got a guest appearance from Dawson Volker as well, who's a product development manager over at Next Innovation. So father and son team. First off, hey guys, I just want to say welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's very exciting being here.
Oh man, so I guess just to get us kicked off, we're gonna start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So Arnold, Dawson, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. What mission matters to you?
For me, I love to create things, design things, and so really helping. My mission is helping other people create and kind of try to get things out into the market, but especially with youth. I mean, and that was kind of what my story was about. I really thank Adam for being in that first book, and now it's in an audio. So really, that's a mission of mine, is to help people create and expand their ideas.
It's awesome. What about you, Dawson?
One of the missions that I have is I'm always trying to learn something new and always add something to my tool belt. There's a lot of new technology and new ways to do things nowadays, and I always like to learn about those new things or learn something new to me and learn. It's always an opportunity to learn. So
Yeah, that's great. And it's fun to have the father and son team on here. And for those that are, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can kind of see what we're looking at, obviously. But there's a lot of people that'll listen to this on the podcast too. Maybe describe a little bit, tell us a little bit about what we're looking at, especially that big old blue trailer behind you.
Well, Dawson and I love to motorcycles, so I have a Harley, a bigger ultra classic, and Dawson we just love to ride. He's got a crotch rocket, and so it's like I love challenging my son. It's one thing as a parent, it's like I give him ideas, and what if we did this? So we love motorcycling, so we came up with this beautiful trailer behind us. Dawson 100% designed it, very proud of him. And it pulls behind a motorcycle or ATV. Right now we have it hooked up to an ATV side by side, but Dawson will tell you more about it, but that's something we're excited about.
yeah, it's also very, very light. It's about 500 pounds, and there really isn't any of them on the market that are that light and being fixed, where this one's not collapsible or anything. It's actually a fixed top, and it can be pulled by a motorcycle, which there really isn't any on the market right now. And so it's cool to invent something that's really new to the market. And it also has a lot of capabilities with just the designing of it. It was cool to work with a laser pipe cutter to design, so all the frame and everything actually stabs inside of the lower frame, so you don't use any jigs or anything. It's all just clamped down and then weld together. So it's really, really cool, and one person can assemble the whole thing. And there was a lot of just challenges of weight and other things when you're trying to deal with towing with a motorcycle. So
And it's big too. Like I saw that picture of you guys and Roland Williams. So it says Roland's a big guy. Like, and I saw him standing next to it. I'm like, that thing's big too. Like, so it fits a big, big people, right? It's big.
yeah, sleeping area is 6'6", and then there's a full twin size mattress on the inside. So yeah, you can fit one person very comfortably inside. And there's also a 32-inch flat screen TV in there as well. So you can watch movies, and there's full solar, so you have power for all your electronics. So.
Man, that's like a mini man cave is what it is.
For real. And there's a full kitchen in the back as well, and all the panels are all custom aluminum panels, and the doors and everything I designed and made them so that they'd all work together and seal and still be waterproof. So it's a really, really nice machine. It can really also add to your camping experience,
Yeah. So Dawson, I have to tell you, every time I talk to your dad, like normally he's in the office, we're having a conversation, something else. Sometimes he'll pop in or otherwise, or you'll be like, "Oh, here, talking to you on the side," and I'm like, "So you keep Dawson in the shop all day? He's the one working. You're in the office. I see how this works. How's it like working with your dad? This is my first father-son interview, so I'm excited. How's it like working with your dad?"
Well, to be honest, it's one of the greatest things, and
Yeah.
it can be frustrating at times because you're working with your family all the time. But it's really, really nice to have a relationship with my dad, and then also be able to work with him, because it's really nice to just have somebody that knows what your capabilities are, and what you can and can't do, and we have a really tight relationship. It's definitely added to our relationship because we've been together for so long, and we've been working together for so many different things, and it's really nice to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, and be able to ask pretty much whatever you want, when you're working on stuff. So it's really nice to have that level of relationship with someone, rather than it just being your boss. It's really cool to work here and actually have that. So
It's awesome. Yeah, I remember like when I was growing up. So I grew up in kind of the shop environment as well. So my dad owned an auto body shop. I'm from Michigan, from Detroit originally, and I grew up in that environment, working in the garage with him. And otherwise, obviously, it didn't quite work out the same way it did with you. Maybe we didn't work the same ways, or whatever that means. I could be. I'm a Taurus. It's probably more me than him, honestly. But but I love to see it. Like when I see this father-son duo. Arnold, so I wanted to spend a little bit of the time on the book today. So in the book, you share, and I know it's been a while since you've been on the show, so we got a bunch of new listeners. So I want to go into the story a little bit. In the book and in the story, you share a lot about Dawson and about some of his early on inventions and things that he created that that ended up being pretty pivotal to the business overall. Maybe lay some of the groundwork and kind of let the readers and the listeners know a little bit more about what you wrote about.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's something, just as a parent, it's always fun to challenge your kids and support them. And so when Dawson was, I think, probably 12, he wanted a go-kart. And I said, well, if you want a go-kart, you're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. And I brought home a piece of scrap. And he's a kid that's rural area growing up and really was into shooting sports and things like that. And he came up with a shooting target. And so then we put graphics on it. Zombies were in. And so Dawson at 13 got asked to go to a national conference. He was on the front page of our local paper, made national news just with his kind of ideas and stuff around the shooting environment. And that actually really helped us stay open. I mean, pretty soon things evolved a little bit. We were shipping semi-loaded shooting targets every couple of weeks. There were some larger targets, and the whole product line expanded, and we would have never had that if it wasn't for Dawson's idea of just getting into shooting targets and wanting a go-kart. So that's kind of cool. And then over the years, it's fun as a parent. It's like we got a 500 some foot long building, and it's like, I don't like this big blue wall. It's like, Dawson, it'd be pretty cool if you could have a 20-foot eagle that's on the side of the building. And so it's fun challenging them, and Dawson always knocks it out of the park. And that's kind of how this trailer got started. It's like, but it's cool. We have the tools and resources, so to invent things.
Yeah. So Dawson, when you when you were that young and you started seeing, your idea become reality, so you had this piece of scrap, you come up with something new, you start creating, like what was that like for you?
Well, it was really cool.
Because you're young, by the way. I think you said it was about 12, right?
I was about 12 when I invented that. And
man,
it was really cool just understanding, like, I'd never had invented anything before, and then going through like the invention process of just trial and error of like, okay, well, this is what we want to do, and this is the product that we have, and how does it work, and what do we need to change? And as a kid, you're kind of just like learning all that. And so it's cool to, when I was a kid, it was more of just like, I have this and I want to do this, and how do I make this do this, and those things ended up turning into more different targets of different calibers, so it was different thicknesses of steel. And then we started with 18 gauge steel, and we ended up switching to AR 500. And when I was younger, I got really into just the differences of steel. It got me interested from 18 gauge versus an armored steel of AR 200 or AR 300 all the way up to AR 500. And we got into thicker targets and stuff. And as a kid, I really liked shooting of all things, and so it was like, how do I implement what I like to do into what I'm trying to design? So
what was it like for you to see other people use your product for the first time when you saw it in market? Like, what was that like?
I remember the first experience I had was we were going to that NRA show that my dad was talking about, and we brought the first shooting targets for Nerf guns, and we actually cut a tree down in the woods and strapped it onto the roof. Brought it to the show all the way in Madison, Wisconsin, and then set this tree up in our booth and hung targets off of it. And all these kids would come in to our booth and shoot these targets, and they just thought it was like the coolest thing ever because of the noise and you're spinning it when you hit it, and it was just really cool to see people interacting, like you're saying, with my product. And it was just like, well, people actually enjoy what you're making, and that's really gratifying to see.
Did you get the go-kart? I never asked you this question, Arnold. Did you get the go-kart?
So just like all this stuff, I built everything. I wanted to build my own go-kart, and it was really cool. I ended up getting a frame from a guy that worked with the
That doesn't surprise me, by the way, Dawson. Off the shelf is not going to work for you. I already know.
No, and then I bought an engine off of a lawnmower, and then I had 2 spare 4-wheelers that I had cut apart for all the axles and everything. And then I ended up learning a lot. I had this guy that helped me, and he taught me a lot of how to pretty much assemble this go-kart with 4-wheeler parts. And we got to a point where we pretty much couldn't continue anymore because we didn't know how to link the motor to the actual axles, and so we ended up selling what we had.
Kids grow up way too fast, and so in a fast version of that, the go-kart turned into a 280ZX Dawson. So
I kind of figured. He's like, hold on, we're selling a lot of targets, Dad. Come on, man, pony up.
Yeah. I ended up selling the go-kart, and I ended up buying myself a 280Z Nissan.
I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, I love the father-son team. I love that you're inventing and creating, but I feel like sometimes in the digital world right now, like we forget about manufacturing, and we forget about inventing, and we forget about like the physical side of creating something new. I feel like on TV, whatever, Instagram, all these other things, like it's always the digital thing or the this or the that. And I'm not against AI, all these other things, right? They all help in all these processes. I'm not saying that they're not a piece of it in design and otherwise. But to me, still, there's something about like me hearing this story and seeing you, even the trailer that you have behind you, come up with that in your mind, in your process, and then to one day be able to use it and to be physically in it. Like, I feel like it's a different experience.
Yeah, definitely. When I first, like in this, designing it on the computer, I've used Fusion, which is a 3D software, and it was just seeing it on the program, and then now like I'm laying in here watching a movie. It honestly doesn't feel real. I mean, but it is at the same time, and it's just super gratifying to be like, man, I was able to do that on the computer, and now I'm actually in real life laying in it.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to the other inventors, the other people out there that are maybe younger, just coming up in the industries and trades and creating, in terms of like their pursuit for creating new things? Like, what kind of advice would you give them?
Just do it. I mean, just do stuff. I mean, that's honestly the thing that me and my dad always say to each other is you learn by doing, and the only way that you know how to do stuff is if you've done it. I mean, you can watch videos and stuff, and that's a lot that teaches you different things. But the best way to go out and know how to do something is by doing it.
Yeah, you created recently something for a church. Like, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, that was awesome. Your dad texted me the pictures; they're amazing.
So
Speaking of just doing it, so now we got spreading some Jesus too with just doing it. Now we got a new tub. No, it's not called a tub. I don't know what it's called. You tell me.
Yeah. But,
I said a tub. I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna pray on that one this weekend.
yeah, no kidding. But it was a baptismal display for the Red Lake Catholic
That sounds
Church.
much better than what I said. The baptismal display. Yes, tell me more about that.
So they wanted a custom baptismal display that they wanted to actually be shaped like Upper and Lower Red Lake, which is a prominent lake here in Minnesota. And they asked me to design everything, and they had a picture of one from a different place, and they said, well, this is what we kind of want it to look like, but figure out how we're going to do this and let us know what we need to do. And so I figured out the plans online and designed it to fit these plastic inserts that another company was making, and then they would insert into my 1/4-inch aluminum baptismal display that was 2 levels, and the water would actually flow from the upper to the lower basin just like it would in real life in the actual lake. And so there was a lot of figuring and stuff, and plus I've never actually made anything waterproof with aluminum, so because I had to make a basin out of aluminum, and so there was a lot of
you got a lot of pressure on the line on this one.
Yeah, and then there was a religious holiday, so it had to be done by then. It had to be
And I had to make it in 3 days. Yeah, and there was a lot of welding.
I feel like there's something biblical about that. I don't know what,
but yeah, and then I ended up welding this whole thing together, and then they wanted it to look as nice as possible, so sanding down all of the welds on all the corners, and then re-welding, to fill back in some of those spots because it's not even, and so you got to fix what isn't looking right. And so, and then it was like, I'm done now, and I gotta leave because I'm going to Mexico. And
he was off to a vacation.
Yeah, and so I filled it up with water, and it wasn't leaking, and I was like, thank God. And so we went, and that was the end of that project, and I had to let somebody else paint it because I had to go. So it was it was a very stressful, but then now I got the guy that installed it in the church sent me pictures of it and everything, and it just looks so it's really gratitude. I mean, a lot of gratitude to that I made that for the church, and it's going to be used by a lot of people.
What's that cartoon or that animated show you liked as a kid that he was an inventor? Can't think of it. But what I love about the whole creative process is it's about failing somewhat forward. So like you try to put something together and make something, and it never really works the first time. It's a series of advancements, and that's what I love about the team atmosphere of it. Here and then you throw into production. It's like one thing to make something. But then how do you produce 10,000 of them or something? So it adds another whole level, which Dawson has done amazing at. So
and then having other people just bounce. Sometimes you get to a spot and you're like, I have no idea how to do this, and you just go get somebody else and you're like, what do you think about this? What do you think you would do here? And they'd be like, well, I'd do this, and you'd be like, man, that's a great idea. I don't know how to do that, And so it's like you need other people to balance stuff out.
Yeah, so I think it's humbling at the same time because it's like, well, wait a minute, that is a good idea, and then you're constantly taking other people's ideas and building off from it. But I think back on the question earlier about the book. The first it was a kid that invented the earmuffs. It was a kid that invented the popsicle. It was a kid that invented the trampoline. I mean, if you really look at history, I mean, there's a lot of things that kids have come up with, and luckily they've had the support of their parents and family and stuff. But how do we continue to encourage that? And that's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And do they and one of the things that the projects you've been working on is Inventor U, and also and encouraging others. Like, why has that been so important to you, Arnold, to number one, share Dawson's story in the book, because there's a lot of things you could have wrote about. So sharing the story of discovery, but then also to inspire and want to pass that on to others. Like, why is that so important to you?
I think my grandfather was an inventor, so I feel like it's in my genes. And he passed away at almost 101. He invented the first potato planter, you know, and it's kind of honoring my history, and I just feel I was named after him, so I think deep down it's like I really want to continue to pass that on as far as creating and inventing, and Dawson's definitely excelled with that. It's something he's interested in and loves, just as a little kid, taking things apart. So I think just part of my history and honoring you know, the people that were before me.
What's that like, Dawson, coming from that lineage of inventors, man?
It's definitely something that you have to look back on and be like, well, I gotta do good, you know. I have a great, you know. But then it's also just super cool to know that I have that in my family.
Well, I have to say, this has been fun having you both on the show, fun catching up, talking about the books, finally getting to, you know, get Dawson on camera too. I've been looking forward to this. What's next? I mean, what's next for you both, whether it's projects or otherwise? Like, what's on the docket next?
Right now, I mean, there's always working on cool stuff for myself.
Besides you going back to the office, Arnold, and leaving Dawson in the shop to work, what's next? There you go. No.
Well, I think, as you know, the name of our company is Next Innovations. I mean, people can go out and check it on our website. Yeah. It's kind of ingrained in us, so, you know, just putting our name, what's next, and so Dawson's got a really cool shooting bench that he's working on, and so when you have a 60,000 square foot manufacturing plant, it's like we kind of focus on things that we enjoy to do, which then makes it even more fun. But the challenge in this economy is trying to find what are things that people are buying right now and what are they spending money on. That's kind of a category like the trailer. There's more camping and stuff, but we're constantly trying to enjoy ourselves as much as possible, but yet, you know, come up with things that people would buy, and the design part is something Dawson loves doing. So yeah. And then for me personally, I mean, Inventor U, I mean, I help people, whether it's consulting or coaching, whether it's on their own life. I believe everybody's an inventor, so how can I help support that? So inventoru.com is somewhere they can go and book a consulting free intro type thing, and it's just fun hearing about other people's ideas. I think as a kid, most kids are positive, and they don't know, and how do they don't get caught up in all the roadblocks. So I feel that's partly my job with some of the experience we've had and I've had, and how do I encourage others to help them bring something to market, or just encouraging them, supporting them on their idea.
Amazing. What were those websites one more time?
Nextinnovations.net or inventoru.com.
Fantastic. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that everybody watching can go check it out. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't hit that subscribe or follow button yet, now is your chance to definitely hit that subscribe or follow button. We have this is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new entrepreneurs, new experts, new executives, and we don't want you to miss a thing. So hit the subscribe button. And Dawson, Arnold, again, so much fun. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.